All right. Well, I thought I'd bring back a little segment. So this past, I think it was July, um, per something that Professor Dungeon Master had said on his channel, I decided I would do a bunch of indie spotlights. And, I got real generous with what I called indie at the time. So, it was fun. It was cool. I like talking about games other than the big game that everybody always talks about. But, every day should be indie RPG day. So, anyway, I thought I'd talk about one that I just checked out called the Nullam Project. Nullam Project. I'm not sure how it's supposed to be pronounced. This is from a company called Trapped Chest. I believe they're Canadian, I think. Well, I know because that's where it was sent from. Anyway, uh, the company, the person behind this, whose name I believe is, I have it here. It's a Jed Dorkson, if I'm saying that correctly. Here's the credits in there. He reached out to me through the blog, I guess, through my blog, and asked if I would give this a look. And so I said, sure. With the usual, I don't, as I'm finding out now, apparently you have to say or have to make clear, I'm not paid to do a review for anyone. But if somebody sends me a review copy, if it's something that, I'm not gonna lie to somebody and tell them that I'm going to review something that I have no interest in ever looking at. So, somebody reaches out and says that they want to send a copy to me, physical copy. I don't usually read PDFs because I don't like PDFs. I have a hard time reading them. But anyway, somebody reaches out. I'll take a look at it, and I'm going to give a fair assessment. What do I feel about this? Will I be perhaps a little more generous with an indie publisher than with a major one? Sure. Things like editing mistakes and problems like that, I am a little more forgiving for. That said, I didn't see any in here. I didn't notice any in here. And believe me, I usually do notice because, boy, sometimes they're glaring. And sometimes they're from major companies, and it's really kind of ridiculous. But anyway, all that's to say, the person reached out to me, and I said, yeah, I'll take a look at this. It took me a little while because I was quite sick, but here I am. Here's the back, and I'm going to zoom in, zoom in. I'm going to push this a little closer to the camera, and hopefully it stays in focus. And you can read that if you would like. But the general gist is that it is a relatively near future. Humanity has gone out to try to settle an alien world that indications were that it was fitting for human life. They get there, they find out that the planet already has two advanced sentient species living on it that are in a constant state of war, and they just said, well, this is too hostile to land in and to become a part of, so they set up a sort of space-based colony in a asteroid belt, or whatever. Is that what you call it? I don't know, the ring, or planetary ring, whatever you call those things, out of the dust ring or whatever around the planet. So they start using the rock and other substances from that ring and help to make themselves a colony. Fast forward a little, and the sort of geopolitical situation is stabilized a little. You have kind of a Cold War going on between the two alien groups, and then you have the humans living above and their interaction. Now, there is not a great deal of setting material here, not a great deal of lore. There's a few pages, but this book is only 16 pages long, plus you've got the character sheets and a quick reference guide on the inside front cover. The rules are also fairly short. The whole thing is short. It's only 16 pages long. but you have a little bit of lore about the planet and the humans and the two species that are down there. It's enough to get you started. There's also some plot hooks on the last page. It's all enough to get you started, especially if you are an experienced GM and you know science fiction tropes and various things like that. It fits into, it's elements that you would have been familiar with, colony life, alien species. The alien species are familiar, when you read them, you're like, oh, okay, I get what sort of archetypal alien this is, that kind of thing. So it's good, solid, easy, quick material. The rules are, as they would have to be, fairly short and relatively easy to comprehend. I mentioned in my print review, which I will try to remember to put a link to in the stuff below, that it reminds me of the, I'll never say it right, Cepheus engine, I think it is, the sort of generic version of the Traveler core system. I have only recently, in the last year or so, been playing Traveler for the first time, miraculously, in, I don't know how long I've been gaming, since the 80s. I had never played Traveler, and now I have actually played Traveler. It's the current Mongoose 2nd edition. I honestly do not know how close Cepheus is. I think it's the core thing is basically the same. Anyway, this reminds me of that. It's not the same system, but it has similar ideas to it. Add a statistic, a skill, and a die roll. It's two dice. In this case, it's 2d8 as opposed to 2d6. And see if you beat a target number. That kind of system. Pretty simple. There's a little extra for combat. There's classes. Each one gives you a little bit of special mechanical reflection. Anyway, it looks pretty cool. The author, when I chatted briefly via email, the author mentioned that they were going to be, that they did plan to produce more material for it, including some lore and maybe some one-shots, that kind of thing, which I think would be helpful to expand the idea. I mean, this is a pretty, it's bare bones, but I think about, and again, I know I mentioned this in my written review, but I keep thinking about Cairn, which is a game that felt like, to me, it just felt like half a game. And I don't know if it was just the mechanics or if it was the lack of any kind of lore, but when I read the book, I was like, oh, okay, but what would I do with this? And with this book, I read it and I'm like, oh, okay, I know what I would do with this. Would I run an entire campaign based on this right now? Probably not. Could I run a couple of one-shots or a short campaign? Absolutely. And I actually don't just have these out for thematic background, as I sometimes do when I do unboxings and such. I have these out because I specifically do think that material from Mothership, Alien, 2300 AD, I could see adapting some of that material into this pretty easily. These are all thematically sort of similar games. Sure, Alien and Mothership lean toward the horror, but all three are sort of blue-collar science fiction. The ground level, the more restrained, we're not talking about flying around in warp space, fighting space wizards. We're talking about small pods and getting up and down, getting from the surface of the planet to space is a bit of a challenge. It's resource management, that kind of thing. This doesn't really have a lot of resource management for reasons that they go into in the thing, but it's a little more grounded than some other sci-fi settings. So I thought that this material might be useful. Anyway, I just wanted to make people aware of this. It's on drive-through. They also have their own website where you can purchase the book. I cannot remember, as I'm recording this, if it is easily available in print. I believe that it is, but I could be wrong. But you definitely can get the PDF. So anyhow, that's it for now. Take a look at the details in the links below. There's always more information down there. And if you like me blathering about an indie game and you want to support the channel, you can always check out my Patreon, buy me a coffee, or grab me some game off of my Amazon wish list if you feel like it, what have you. And yeah, that's it for me now. So take care.